Welcome back to our F1 2020 Ferrari Return to Glory career mode. Today we're here for the 5th round of the season, the Spanish Grand Prix. And before we get into that, we've got some more upgrades then to come on the car. Hopefully, I believe had one that literally arrived here on the 4th of May. Sort of how I always do the upgrades, it always means that we end up with one coming on the car right at the end of the weekend. I always miss which one it is, but nonetheless, I think we have got one of the chassis upgrades on the car now, and certainly the aero's coming along quite nicely. I think we're certainly pulling away. Then we were only about 6th or 7th, I think, at the start of the season, so we've done well to get up to 3rd there. We've got quite a bit of resource points at the moment, so we can upgrade the barge boards there, but then that does mean that we can't really do anything else at this point. But still, we're coming along quite nicely then. We're 3rd in both the aero and the chassis, but obviously we need to keep that going, because obviously at some point we're going to drop to having the worst engine, as we now advance time then to the Spanish Grand Prix, and head into this weekend. As you can see, nice and sunny weekend right up until Sunday, where it's looking like it's going to be a very, very wet one there, judging by what we could see there. As we head then into practice, fighting the car quite a bit here, has to be said, those slow corners, but we did manage to pass the practice program that we did there. Not racked up some more resource points, but yeah, as always, not really spending too much time with that. But yeah, we gained some acclaim, so that's good. What's not good though is that a lot of our engine parts, again, very worn now. We're having to move on to the second set of each of our components now for most of them, so that's obviously not good, because we've only got 2 or 3 of those to last season, and we've still got 12 rounds to go, including this one. So we're still going to be getting hit with some big penalties later on in the season, maybe not even that late in the season with the way it's going, but we'll have to see how things play out then, and just worry about today then. Here in Spain, we're in qualifying, and well, that is not the way we wanted to start it then. A DRS failure already, so that has put us on our back foot then right in this first qualifying session here, and seeing a bit of delay on things then, and it was a bit later on in the session that we finally got out then and were able to set a time which thankfully was good enough then to get us through to the second knockout session there then. We're once again then in 12th position, with Charles Leclerc up in 4th, but I guess the crucial thing is that we actually did get through there, and that we didn't have any recurring issues with the DRS there, as it's the usual cars going out then in the first qualifying session there. Then I was on to Q2 now then, and actually, even though it was looking like it was going to be dry until Sunday, there was actually rain forecast, so we were out nice and early then on the soft tyres. We're not taking any chances, we're just going for it here then to make sure we get through to Q3 I should say, if we can. So here is our lap time then to the line. It's a 15.6, not great there. We were slower than Perez. We're also slower than Albon, who was on mediums. We did have enough time to go back out there just before it started raining, as it has just done as we were coming through the final sector here. We are on an improved lap time, so we should be able to hopefully carry this through then. No one else seems to be on track though, so it probably won't even matter here, but still, we're going to use many more soft tyres here, so we may as well use these ones. We did improve then our lap time, and we were through then in 7th position. Some cars opted in for mediums, which proved to be a mistake there for Daniel Ricciardo, because he went out there when you would think he would have comfortably got through, judging by that medium tyre time. But as I said, it's looking like the race is going to be wet anyway, so I don't think there's pretty much need for anyone to be on the mediums there. But some of the front running teams there showing off a bit, but nonetheless then into Q3, and it is properly starting to come down now then in this session. So yeah, this is a fully wet Q3 now. Certainly not going to be any dry running, it doesn't look like, as our initial time wasn't too great there. We were slowest of those who had set a time, but we kept on going then on that same set of inters, and we managed to find much more time on the second flying lap. As you can see there, over a quarter of a second faster just in the first sector, and by about halfway through that we were more than half a second up, so we're looking like we're on for a big improvement here on this lap time, and we should hopefully be higher up the field then, as we're nearly 3/4 of a second faster than through the second sector. So we'll see how far up the field we can get then with this lap time. It's looking pretty good then to the line, and we go 5th then with that lap time, just 1 place behind our teammate Charles Leclerc. So this is much more like it. We haven't really had a lot of qualifying pace so far this season, as we have another improvement there then on our second tyres, but the first lap. So we're going to do what we did last time, just keep on going, do a second lap. And well, the same thing's happening again then. The second lap on the tyres, we're finding big amounts of time. The track is actually drying up as well, so a little bit maybe more grip for the Inters, because it was looking a bit wet for them. It was looking very close to full wets at one point, but it's now looking like much more manageable conditions then for the Inters. To the line, we have gone 4th place, and not just that, we have finally out-qualified our teammate Charles Leclerc. So this has been by far our best qualifying performance so far then. We're on the second row of the grid. This is, I mean, it's not just a great, well, for us, it's great for the team. 4th and 5th, that is by far the best team result so far then. Bottas is on pole, ahead of Lewis Hamilton, then the championship leader, with Verstappen in 3rd. So, yeah, we're next after that. So, it's looking very good for us then. We also got one up on Carlos Sainz then in the rivalry, so we're going along quite nicely in that at the moment. So yeah, that was also gained us some nice driver acclaim there as well. So yeah, we can be, I think, quite optimistic heading into this one then. We had good pace there when it was wet in Q3, and look at that rain, well, that weather forecast for the race, rain all the way through. So hopefully that is a sign of more to come then in the race. Can we convert this 4th place then into a strong result? We'll have to now go to the race and find out.
Welcome along then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix, a race which saw Max Verstappen win on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016. This after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on the first lap. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? It's 730 metres from pole position down to a slippery turn 1 here, the first of 16 corners around this 2.89 mile racetrack. The long, wide turn 3 and the uphill right-hander of turn 9 can both be taken full throttle in the right conditions, but I doubt very much we'll be seeing any of that today. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, the scientist, Charles Leclerc and Albon, Sainz, Norris, Stroll and Sergio Perez, Ricciardo, Gasly, Daniel Kvyat and Raikkonen, Grosjean, Magnussen, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell, Latifi and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
We are starting this race then on intermediate tyres. Interestingly, the team are telling us that it's going to be a 2-stop then, so the Inter is obviously not lasting that long then according to the team. I would have ideally wanted to maybe try a 1-stop here if that was at all possible. I mean, obviously we don't even have to do any stops, but it's looking like the tyre wear is going to be far too great for us to be able to do that. But anyway, we've got to do what the team says, and that is the 2-stop then. Well, they're predicting it's a lot faster than a 3-stop at least, so we'll just go with it. Now, I don't know if you saw the well, there should have been a league race that went up earlier this week. That was also at Spain and also in Inter's conditions. But as you can see, this is a lot wetter than that race. If you watch that FXR race, then yeah, it was a lot less rain than this. But we're still on the intermediate tyres then, so we'll have to see just how much of a difference there is here then between the two conditions. Obviously, this tyre You know, it's called the intermediate for a reason. It does work in quite a range of different rain conditions, I guess. So everyone looks beyond these tyres, so they should manage, but it'll just be a case of how well the lights are on now. And we are away then for the Spanish Grand Prix. Getting a decent launch there. We're going to go into overtake once we can. Once we've controlled the wheel spin, then it looks like we're alongside Verstappen, and looking at the team Mercedes in front of us, then going wheel to wheel, it looks like Hamilton's going to get Bottas's E. We're looking at Verstappen as well then, but we're a bit actually wide in turn 2, and that's given Charles then the invitation to go through and round the outside of turn 3. He has overtaken us then, so obviously he will not have liked being out qualified there because he's been comfortably faster than us all season, but he's got us back then after only a couple of corners here. And in fact, Alex Albon is now looking at us through turn 4 as well. We're going to try and fight back if we can though, up the inside in turn 5. It looks like we've just about done enough there, maybe a little bit of contact there in fact with the Red Bull driver, but we have managed to recover at least one place then, but certainly not the start we would have wanted there, as we've also run wide and get a track limits warning there. So not quite the start we would have wanted here then. We've lost a place to our teammate, as we now see then the replay of that start, and everyone getting away very tentatively then, but it was but it seemed to be the cars on the right hand side of the grid all had better starts there. Hamilton had a good start in his teammate and managed to go through into the lead there. We had a look at Verstappen initially, but then I think we were just a little bit too wide with our line through turn 2, and that well, Charles Leclerc did not need a second invitation, and he passed us there, and then right on the outside of turn 3. We'll now see it on board from him, and yeah, it just was not a good start from him. As we said, he went defensive there on Albon. He didn't get a great start in the last race either in the Netherlands, interestingly, but yeah, he just sort of bided his time there. We were a bit too wide through turn 2, and as I said, he did not need a second invitation. The door was wide open, and 3 went up into 4th place, in a bit of normality, I guess, being resumed there, as we see it now on board from Albon. He saw all that unfold in front of him, and then we just run too far wide in turn 4. We brake too late, and he is going to go through, but it's going to be a very short-lived 5th place for him then, because we came straight back then. He saw us there on the inside, and there was indeed a little bit of contact there on the exit, but we both managed to get away with it then. By the end of lap 3, we were starting to finally regain our composure a bit then, and get into a good rhythm on these tyres. We were right on the back of our teammate again, but we just weren't able to get close enough really down the straight. We were in overtake there, but we just did not have enough to out drag our teammate towards turn 1 there. We just seemed to be pretty much going, well, the exact same speed, which I guess you may well expect having the same car, but we just weren't getting any kind of slipstream either, so that was a bit frustrating. A couple of laps later, it's clear that we're now faster than him, as Verstappen is pulling away, so the team Mercedes, and we have more pace here it seems, but we just cannot get through. We're in rich, we're in overtake, but we're not gaining at all. This was getting quite frustrating here. It must have just been a setup thing, I guess. Maybe I must have just been running too much aero here. I think that must be the only real explanation. So I was using fresher engine parts as well, so yeah, it was just for some reason, well, I guess being the aero, I would guess that I just was not closing enough at all then. As out of turn 9 there, in fact, a couple of laps later, Leclerc lights at the rear tyres quite a bit. That's going to give us a bit of a look there through this, well, I say a bit of a look, but there's just nowhere to pass in this final sector. It's just far too narrow, far too many slow corners, and there's just nowhere to get a good run. If it was another team's car, then maybe I'd be thinking about having a lunge here at this point, but I'd never think to do that on my own teammate there, so we just have to try and be patient if we can and wait for the opportunity to present itself if it does. But yeah, this was quite frustrating because we're now only 6 seconds behind Verstappen, and it looked like we may well have had a bit of pace to be able to stay with them. The team are now calling us in for our stop then. We were called in first then, despite not being the lead car, which is often how it works. But we'll be on another set then of the intermediate tyres. I actually didn't pay attention to how my tyre wear actually was here. because it was quite bad in the FXR League race that I had, but I don't know with chassis upgrades it was a bit better here or not. I didn't really think to check, to be honest. But yeah, we actually got held a bit in the pits though, which was a bit frustrating there because Sainz came in, and we are not going to rejoin in clear air unfortunately, because Kvyat is just a second up the road and we should be catching up to him quite quickly here, so any chance of an undercut might be ruined here, and indeed that is exactly what is happening then, as Leclerc now pits. But we've caught Kvyat in the worst possible place then, right in this final sector where it's single file, you can't pass anywhere unless you go for a very ambitious lunge, and we certainly were thinking about it there into the final chicane, but there's just no way through, and well, then Kvyat bails out into the pits right in front of us as well. So yeah, that cost us quite a bit of time there in that final sector. It's not looking like we're going to be able to jump our teammate here, and in fact it gets worse because not only have we failed to jump Leclerc, but Alex Albon has succeeded in, well, overcutting us. So yeah, that has worked out disastrously for us then. We were brought in early, we were put out into traffic, and it has cost us big time there because we are now down to 6th place then. So this is, well, we're going backwards from where we really want to be here and where we look like we could have been in terms of our pace, but we're just going to have to see what we can do then, see if the Red Bull is any easier to pass than our own teammate's car. But well, we've certainly set a fastest lap time there, but it was just the same thing was happening again here. We were just hitting what seemed to be like a brick wall in terms of straight line speed compared to our rivals, and yeah, we just weren't able to get close enough into the one real overtaking place there in turn 1. Obviously no DRS in these conditions, but I don't even know if that would have made much of a difference here. But you can see that we were just comfortably staying on the back of these two, but yeah, we were just stuck at the back of it, which is quite annoying. We were once again called in first, so hopefully this time we may well be put out into some clear air. That's going to be our one hope now, I think, of actually getting anything more than 6th place in this race, because we really just cannot pass them on track, it looks like. We're going to have to try and do it in the pits if we can. We need a really good outlap here if we're going to succeed, I think, in this race. As out of the pits we come then, and well, it has not happened once again, because there's Lando Norris. We're going to catch him by the end of this lap if we're going to push. So yeah, that has worked out very badly for us on both pit stops then. The team called us in for those scheduled stops, and yep, it's both times they've put us out into traffic, and that is going to really hurt our race then. Well, any chance, I should say, of retaking Albon or Leclerc, and we were just getting desperate here, having a look at Norris there in a place where it really was not going to work out. And finally we go for the lunge and into the chicane we touch though, and yep, I had another warning off camera, so yeah, that was a 3-second penalty, so that looks like any chance of 4th or 5th today is out the window, and I suspect that Albon and Leclerc are going to rejoin in front of us then, which is quite frustrating here. I mean, I had to go for it there. I had to try something. For the 3rd race in a row, me and Lando Norris collide when I go for a move up the inside and he turns right into the apex there. But I think on this occasion he was very much justified in doing so. I mean, you really can't pass into that final chicane, but I really had no other option there if I was going to have any chance of jumping either Leclerc or Albon in this race. I could not overtake down that straight. I just didn't have the straight line speed at all. You can see that it was just never going to work out there. I mean, we did get ahead, but we also got ourselves a penalty in the process, and we still lost out to the 2 people we were actually racing. So yeah, overall we had to go for it. It didn't pay off. We technically haven't lost anything because we were 6th before the pit stop. We're still going to be 6th because I took it easy to the end of the race really. I knew that I couldn't pass either of those 2 in front of me. I had a comfortable gap to Sainz and Stroll, so as long as I didn't make any mistakes here, even with a penalty, we are still going to be 6th place here. So yeah, just had to take it easy really. Decided to, you know, look after the engine a bit, and yeah, just nurse it home, I guess, because we're certainly going to need some we're going to need to keep the mileage off this engine, and yeah, so we'll just try and look after a bit for these final few laps where there's nothing really that we can gain. And yeah, we certainly dropped back a bit during these final few laps, which was I think probably the best thing to do. But yeah, overall, a bit of a disappointing day. I thought we really had the pace to finish 4th today, but it didn't work out. Those pit stops didn't work out great for us. We also lost out to Leclerc on the first lap, which really set things off really for us. But nonetheless, then we crossed the line at 6th place in Spain.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
It's a heroic effort for any driver to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and had the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Here are the final results then, and I guess just as it was for us, it was also the same for Valtteri Bottas. Then lost out in a wheel-to-wheel duel on the first lap with his teammate, and despite his best efforts could not retake it. Then he did get the fastest lap and was only a second behind at the checkered flag, but it was Lewis Hamilton who took a 4th consecutive win then to extend his lead in the championship. Verstappen in 3rd, Leclerc overtook us obviously at the start and was 4th. Sainz then at his home race was 7th, and yeah, it was Stroll, Ricciardo and Norris then who rounded out the points today. Looking further down, George Russell was the only retirement then. He was classified though, I believe, because of how close it was to the end there. But yeah, here's the driver standings then. As I said, Lewis Hamilton extending his lead, and he's 33 points clear now then of his teammate, and Mercedes really look like the car to beat. So it's looking like it could already be going Lewis Hamilton's way then after just 5 rounds. But Verstappen then, same pin in a valiant effort, he's 50 points behind, but it's looking like it's very much a one-horse race then in terms of the teams then. We're still in 5th place ahead of Leclerc, but he is closing on us a bit today. In the Constructors, Mercedes then, as I said, are well clear, 84 points ahead of Red Bull. We are a very comfortable 3rd place now then. There's a good thing. We did get a solid points finish here for both cars again. So we're comfortably 3rd now ahead of McLaren, Racing Point and Renault, who are having a very close battle there for 4th place. AlphaTauri a bit adrift there in 7th, Haas in 8th, and Alfa Romeo and Williams have yet to score points.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today? Why do you think you weren't as quick as your teammate today? That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you? Appreciate your time.
Claire really had some nerve then to say that we weren't as quick as our teammate in that race, but I mean, I guess we can't really argue with the fact that he overtook us and got the checkered flag in front of us. But yeah, we certainly, I think that result certainly didn't reflect, what we could have had today. Although of course we have had some good fortune as well so far this season, and Leclerc has had some very bad luck as well. So I guess it all balances out in the end. But nonetheless then, that is it then for this round of our Ferrari career mode. Next time it is the crown jewel of the F1 calendar, the Monaco Grand Prix. What can we do there? Well, we'll have to wait and see next time then. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I shall hopefully see you next time.